Okay, it's 7 p.m. We'll call the regular meeting of the Columbia City Plan Commission to order and have the roll call, please.
Jeff Hill.
Here.
John Kissenberg.
Here.
John Langeloh. Jennifer Romano. Here. Nicki Venable. Here. Dennis Warnick.
Here.
Dan Weigold.
Here.
Larry Weiss.
Here.
Patrick Zickgraf.
Here. Consideration and adoption of previous meeting minutes. No minutes.
No.
Administration of oath to all witnesses. So if you're going to speak tonight or ask a question, please stand and raise your right hand, and our attorney will swear you.
Make it quick and painless. Do you solemnly swear that any information you give this commission tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
Okay. Nathan, any old business?
Nope.
Under new business 24-C-DEV-2, Ferrell Investments LLC and McClurg Builders LLC request development plan approval for a 3,995 square foot office building proposed to be located at 515 North Line Street. The 0.51 acre property is zoned GB, General Business District, and is located on the west side of Line Street, just west of Diplomat Drive. Nathan?
Okay, I'll kind of keep this fairly quick. This is a pretty small site. So this is 515 North Line Street. That's the current and previous address. I'm not sure if this will need to be readdressed, but that's something to be figured out. Right, Dan?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it will need one new address at least because it is a 2-tenant bay space. Zone GB general business, overall lot size is just over 22,000 square feet. Being proposed is a new office building. Currently the site is improved with parking area and vacant lot otherwise where a building used to stand until it caught fire back in 2021. What is proposed more specifically is just under a 4,000 square foot 2-story building, and my number and the number that's on the agenda. One of those may be right, both of them may be a little off, just depends on exactly how you measure it up. So that'll be finalized during building permit. Again, it is 2 tenant spaces, also includes a garage bay in the northwest corner as proposed, and the petitioner can give you a bit more detail on exactly what they plan to do with that. There would be 24 parking spaces, inclusive of 1 ADA accessible space, which does meet the ADA requirements. The overall, or in terms of number, the overall parking area would be reusing the existing parking area, and due to that, there's a lot of legal non-conforming situations regarding setbacks and access to the alley and so on that are being requested as part of this. This also reuses the existing accesses, as I said, to the alley, and then also to Line Street, which is mentioned later in the conditions regarding the width of the access to Line Street being concerned. Also proposed is landscaping, and I'll went into quite a bit more detail about the landscaping in this written staff report, but there is some to start with. So going to the references here, outlined in blue is the subject site. Dollar General is immediately to the north. Across the alley, we have Lang Street Veterinary Clinic across Lang Street to the east, Eye Doctor to the south, residences to the west. There is a vacant lot here as well, immediately to the west, that side of the alley, which I believe they are, the owner of that is looking to rebuild a storage building there. Was a garage that had been damaged in the same fire that damaged the building that was on this site. A little bit closer view for reference. There is a sign pole that is also on the property, which is located right there next to what that trailer is. There was no information about whether that would be taken down or stay. It's my assumption it would be taken down because that is where parking would be located, but probably be good to clarify that or confirm that. Also for reference, this actually has utility lines on it. Water is available out along Line Street, and there's combined sewer that runs north-south along the alley to the west with a manhole or a catch basin, I'm not sure which, in the southwest corner of the property. And that was one of the comments regarding confirming access to the combined sewer for the drainage detention. That needs to have explicit consent granted from Board of Works and or the wastewater treatment plant, I'm not sure who. However, the comment was also made by John Jones that drainage may be able to be sheet drained because this is actually a reduction in overall impervious surface from what it had been. The site plan for reference here. Again, the building is basically centrally located here. Parking along the north side would be at grade with the concrete walk that flanks the building. Parking along the east side would be slightly lower. I'm stating that parking stops need to be placed along the north side there because you have the curb to stop vehicles from going over the sidewalk. This gap here is lining up with where the garage bay would be going, and then you have parking out here. Overlaid on the aerial, and I'm not sure why, but the plans that are coming from Walker & Associates lately are really light when I do these overlays. So maybe they can give me heavier line work or something for these and subdivision. But again, for reference, this is the landscape plan as submitted. There would be shade trees, red oaks, specifically along the south property line, and then landscaping around the building itself. Some landscaping in that island, the existing island that would be, partially existing island here. But the parking code, landscape code does call for more landscaping, again, much more detail listed in the staff report. But basically, street trees need to be along Line Street, and then there should be additional landscaping with those street trees, at least here, and then some along the south side of the parking area. The Planning Commission does have the authority to vary that, as well as we've traditionally allowed some variance with the setbacks for parking in conjunction with that. However, I think what's being proposed is still shy of what we'd be looking for, even as an alternate landscape plan. Building elevations, this is a, what is this combination of, I don't remember what the siding materials are. It's stated in here, vinyl siding and trim with stone veneer wainscoting. So the lower portion there below the windows would be stone veneer, upper portion would be vinyl siding. Again, as you look at that east elevation, you've got two entrances, one for each one of the tenant spaces, also reflected here in the floor plans. Tenant B is shown as vacant right now with future offices sketched in. The main tenant space A, is actually 2-story with a office on that second floor. Reminder about the development plan review criteria. And then finally, staff suggested conditions. 1 and 2 are standard regarding if this is approved, that it be approved as presented, and then also addressing any outstanding comments from reviewing agencies. Soil and Water Conservation District, MS4, was the only one with fairly substantial comments, and they were pretty small in number. 3 and 4 and 5 are in standard conditions regarding exterior lighting. And then any dumpster, not that there is any proposed with this, but if there were any, that would be fully enclosed to the extreme. Number 6 is a suggestion that in addition to the proposed landscape plan, landscape beds be added along the east edge of the proposed parking lot, which would also include at least 4 street trees by the measurement of 35 on center, 35 foot on center. That yields 4 street trees. So basically 2 on either side of the driveway would be most logical. Also shrubs and or perennial flowers. The parking code does say that landscape beds need to be landscaped. So some combination of shrubs and flowers would be good. Also, to address the landscaping required along the south edge of the parking lot, added landscape bed there to include at least flowers and shrubs. No additional trees are necessary because there are trees already proposed along that south property line. Depending on what the final discussion is, the commission then would accept the alternate plan as the revised landscaping as the acceptable alternate design. Number 7, add a pedestrian route from the sidewalk to the customer entrance. That is similar to what we did with Dollar General next door. You can see there the sidewalk that leads from Line Street, and it is striped, although it doesn't show up very well there, striped across to their front door. So something similar. Striping may not be necessary here because of the lower volumes of traffic in the parking lot, but again, getting those who wish to walk from the sidewalk along Line Street to the front door of the building is the goal. Number 8, the width of the existing driveway onto Line Street is approximately 40 or 41 feet. That is well in excess of the 24 feet that is typically called for a driveway. However, because of the angles, because it is reusing existing parking, I'm suggesting a maximum of 32 feet. That allows for 3 lanes and again, some turning movement, particularly if you have to make a U-turn. But again, the code calls that 24 feet. So no need to have that 40 feet. That said, similar to what had been done a little farther south on Line Street, it may be acceptable to leave the drive apron and just simply remove some of the asphalt in order to narrow that width down, because you've got sidewalk in that curb and so on. So you'd be replacing sidewalk. It's not just removing and calling it good. So like it would be with the parking area itself. Also dealing with parking, the eastern tier, northeastern tier, appears that with the removal of the extra width as a driveway, and even without that, there's enough room to get the minimum 5-foot setback on the northeast corner. So shift all the parking basically south by a couple of feet in order to get a 5-foot setback there along the northeast, which would be compliant with the setback requirement code. I already mentioned 10 to install parking stops. 11 is an ADA sign, needs to be van accessible specifically. And then I mentioned 12 being the consent for the combined sewer connection. So all things considered, this is actually a fairly short list compared to some projects we've seen that are much more extensive. This is an infill site, fairly small building at 4,000 square feet. And since they're reusing a lot of the parking, there's a lot of things that are kind of grandfathered in. So any questions for me?
I have one. What was the existing apron? Can you pull that up?
Yep. So the existing apron there, as you measure it from there to there is approximately 40 feet at the right-of-way line. So what I'm suggesting is just cutting back or adding a landscape island or something in one of the corners in order.
That's
to-
why I was curious if they were just using the existing or if they were, okay.
Nathan, the existing sidewalk, is it level with the parking lot now?
Which sidewalk are you, what?
The one on the east along Line Street?
Okay, the actual one along Line Street. I do not recall. Let me see if I can pull up Google Street View, because I know they've been along Line Street.
For some reason I'm thinking it's above. Do you know?
I think it's a curve.
That's why I think it's 4 or 5 inches
Back
above.
of the curve goes straight into the sidewalk.
So it's a curved sidewalk here, and you do have some depression where the driveway is. Actually, it's kind of depressed all the way up through here. As you can see out in front of Dollar General, it gets higher, and then as you get on the south side here, it gets higher. So it's relatively low on the northern 2/3 of this site. And while we're at it, there's that sample.
Any other questions for Nathan? Okay. Gentlemen?
All right, my name's Ryan Pepler. I work with Walker Associates. My address is 3490 North Etna Road. We did the engineering plans for Andy and Brandon. Just a couple things that Nathan was talking through, and I'll address some of these. As far as the signpost, the plan for that is to be taken down. So any signage would be on or near the building. Yeah, okay. Another thing, on the east side of the building, you mentioned that the sidewalk was at grade with the pavement, and it's not.
North side.
Okay, north side, just in one spot though.
What I measured was the 80 accessible space,
Mhm.
which makes sense. There's access strip for that, which also makes sense. And then the two adjacent to that, the one on the far east side of the north strip there would not be. So any of them that would be at grade
Right.
would need parking
Okay,
stops.
just wanted to make sure, because there's, yeah, won't get in the weeds too much on that.
Yeah, and it could be redone, regraded to have the curb there too.
Okay.
But whatever it winds up being.
The parking spaces up there at the north, there's only 3.75. We'll slide those south to get to at least the 5 feet away from the. We actually have additional parking spaces. I don't know if you gave the actual number needed. We actually have more parking spaces needed than, so if we have to lose a parking spot even, but we'll pull that down.
Yeah, it's mentioned in the staff report of 16 minimum based on the square footage.
You've got 24, yeah, so.
Yeah. The current entrance the existing entrance is being used. Actually, a lot of the parking is existing hard surface. So if you go front, I don't know if I can go up to the screen and point or, okay. Basically, everything here and up here, there, that's all existing. So the only new parking area would be this area, and then a new concrete approach for large truck deliveries and anything like that might happen. Even with those new areas, we're actually reducing the number of, or the amount of hard surface. Back when there was a building on site, this was nearly completely covered in hard surface. And now there will be grass and landscape areas down in the southwest part and the south part, and the places that show up on the landscape plan. There's a small drainage issue down in the southwest part that happens on, it's actually the neighbor's property to the south. By the plans that we're doing here, we're actually helping that situation for the neighbor by putting in that, there's a yard drain that's going to go in just, if you go straight south of the building, between the building and halfway down to the property line, that water will be diverted towards that catch basin and then out to the existing storm line. I don't know if you have something up with just the area. Sometimes the aerial will show where gravel shows up, or you can kind of pick up where that drainage issue might be. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, but these are new aerials, aren't they?
March, yep.
Yeah, maybe it was the previous one. Anyway, so we are helping with the drainage on that part. Yes, they were trying to use the existing concrete coming in, and so to reduce that, I'm wondering whether that could be, reducing that, whether striping could be utilized for the pedestrian access at that point, instead of ripping out and then putting in a different sidewalk someplace else, just thinking off the top of my head here, rather than recreating the wheel. So. Are there any questions for me?
Is there going to be a curb along that north alleyway line, or back down on this alley? Is there some kind of restriction that the people wouldn't be driving in, or is it going to be just right out to the alley and they can drive in and out like it used to be?
There is no curb. There was not a curb
Right.
that I know of,
Right.
and no, there's not a.
Okay.
Okay, so will it be stone next to the alley or will it be grass?
I think the alley is currently pavement. Do you have that street view?
Yeah.
Well, it'll go straight from the alley pavement to the new, or the existing. It's actually existing. It'll look just like that. There will be no change on that side of it.
Okay, on the south side, well, that south alley, or the west alley, I mean, there.
Okay.
Well, what will be in between the alley and the property?
There's existing stone that shows up on there.
Okay.
It's hard to, that line, the arrow's pointing.
I didn't know whether he's gonna put some grass area in there.
I don't think there's any plans to change that back
Okay.
there.
So is that an existing drain or a manhole, that northwest corner?
I can't see that far.
Southwest.
Southwest or northwest?
Northwest.
Northwest. There's a catch basin across the street, across the alley, on the west side of the alley. Is that what you're asking about?
Well,
Yeah, that one. That's good. The words are cut off on the, but there is a catch basin that feeds into that storm line going north and south.
and your new catch basin will be right out in the corner of the building, basically.
The new catch basin, there'll be one straight south of, well, there's going to be one in the middle of the parking lot that will pick up everything that's in the parking lot,
Okay,
and it'll take it west. There's another yard drain there just south of the proposed building.
okay.
That will then also pick up there, and everything will go to that storm line that's in the alley.
Reducing that access from 40 feet to 32 feet, or is there truck and trailer traffic that will cause some hiccups too?
No. Yeah, I don't have the exact measurement on the looked like there were 3 sections of concrete on that street view. Whether that would, it's approximately maybe around 32 feet would be my guess. But again, you're removing. Yeah, there's the,
Going back in time.
yeah, I was gonna say. Okay, there you go.
So it would be 32 feet would put you roughly here.
Yeah, if you were to take both sides off, though.
Yeah, the idea of using that roughly 8 feet of width as pedestrian access, I think is maybe a good combo suggestion, but exactly what that looks like, I'm not sure. Paint by itself would be sufficient, but I think that might be a good way of reusing pavement.
Let's keep driving.
Any other questions?
That part over there to the south where it's dirt right now between you and the eye doctor's office, is that gonna be grass area?
Yes,
And there'll be some landscaping.
yes, and it'll work. I hesitate to use the word as a detention area, but in reality, it kind of is. It's dropping it down into that yard drain that's going to be in there, which will then take it into the existing storm pipe in the
Okay.
back. So this will sit down just a little bit farther than what that shows there. A little bit.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
What's your pleasure?
I'd like to make a recommendation that we approve 24-C-DV-2 with the suggested conditions of the staff. Minus number 8, where we reduce the inlet to 32, where we make it paint or whatever is accessible. Yeah.
So the way that's worded is the pavement be less than 32 feet. What you're suggesting is the width of the vehicular area be 32
Correct.
feet, and then, but the pavement could still be the same.
Correct.
And I'd second that.
Okay. A motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion?
Are we gonna add the sidewalk situation? Or is that you were talking about up at the front? Has that been determined that you were going over?
The connecting the sidewalk to the front entrance, that's what we were just saying, that 8 feet of existing pavement would be made into the pedestrian way. Chip, were you suggesting that paint would be okay with that, or?
I'd like them to bring something to us.
Okay, then I might suggest revising the motion to say that the community development director and planning director authorized to review the final design.
Yes, yes, I agree. Do I need to remake a motion?
Amend the motion.
Amend the motion that the petitioners bring this to us with a different option other than removing pavement and some way to issue that is a walkway.
And I second that amended motion.
Any discussion on the amended motion? Those in favor of the amended motion and the approval of 24-C-DEB-2, signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, motion carried.
I'd like to make a comment. You were talking about the drainage and that one piece on the north side, the other side of the alley. It's really kind of like detention pond.
The Dollar General site.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that thing is 6 foot deep.
Yeah, this won't be anything like that.
No, I know, but what I mean is down at the end, is that where you're hooking and then coming down the alley?
There's already a.
Well, I know, but the thing is, you get some big rains, who's going first? Now, you could back up stuff in there, but I looked down through there and that thing's kind of almost like plugged. So you might want to check that out.
That, we didn't do the design for the Dollar General, so the Dollar General, they would have designed that for that site.
Yeah, well, they still got water in it now.
Will hold the water long enough to then slowly release it, but I don't know, I haven't looked in that basin to know.
Yeah, well, at 6 foot, they can hold a lot of water there. Yeah, but you might check that out and make sure it is running decent.
Other business, Nathan?
Yeah, you shook your head.
Sorry.
I've actually had time to start making headway on parking code. So not as much as I'd like, but that is on track as I promised to be to you guys soon. So this year for sure. Also brought up earlier today was the idea of accessory dwelling units, which is something that we've talked about as maybe being nice in the city, but we actually had a proposal specifically for an ADU that would not be allowed under the current zoning. Actually, any of the proposals that he had would not be allowed under any of the current zoning. It would involve both rezoning and potentially a variance to get pretty close. So it's kind of a, I won't go into the details because it's kind of an extreme example, but it brought up that discussion again. So we may need to start considering an ADU code to say, this is how we deal with them. This is what we're looking for and how we deal with them. So if anybody wants to start pressing that as well, once we get parking underway. So that was all the other business I had for you today, specifically for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Motion and a second to adjourn. Let's adjourn.